how to figure out absolute advantage and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage goes to the producer who produces the best. So in this case, we're looking at an output problem to start with. The way that we know that it's an output problem, because it's looking at what these people can produce within a certain amount of time. So looking at the problem, we have Johnny and Alice producing lasagna and spaghetti. Johnny can produce 2 lasagnas per hour or 4 spaghettis per hour, and Alice can produce 3 lasagnas per hour or 9 spaghettis per hour. So this is what's coming out of an hour of work. It's an output problem. The one who does it the best, or who has the absolute advantage, is the one who can make the most. So the first thing I want to do is put a line between my producers to help me to compare. So here's the line between Johnny and Alice. So as I compare who makes the most lasagna, I see that Alice makes the most. So Alice has the absolute advantage in the making of lasagna. For spaghetti, Johnny can make 4 per hour and Alice can make 9 per hour. So Alice also has the absolute advantage in making spaghetti. So Alice can have the absolute advantage in the production of both products. The next thing we're going to look at is comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is used to figure out who should specialize, which producer should specialize in the production of a particular item. The reason why we would want to know this is because this sets up the international trade relationships that we have. The person who has a comparative advantage is the one who can produce something at the lowest opportunity cost in comparison to the other producer. When they specialize, each can produce more of one item and then trade for the other, and this should allow them to produce outside of their own, not produce, but to obtain combinations of items outside of their own production possibility curves. Okay, so let's look at the opportunity cost ratios. First of all, we do not want to cross the line, because when Johnny makes lasagna, he gives up the opportunity to produce spaghetti. And when Alice makes lasagna, she gives up the opportunity to produce spaghetti. Okay, so we're going to not cross the line in making opportunity cost ratios. Remembering that an output is setting up a ratio where you jump out of the window and onto the tree, as an output would be. We look at the 2 and we bring the 4 over on top of the 2. Okay, we break this down and that will be 2. So the opportunity cost of Johnny making lasagna is he gives up 2 spaghettis that he could have made in that same amount of time. Over here at the 4, when Johnny makes spaghetti, he gives up lasagna, so the 2 is on top of the 4. We break that down to 1/2. And so when Johnny makes spaghetti, he gives up the opportunity to make a half of a lasagna that he could have made in that same amount of time. We do the same thing for Alice without crossing the line. When she makes lasagna, she gives up the opportunity to make spaghetti. So the 9 is on top of the 3. We break that down to 3. When Alice produces lasagna, she gives up the opportunity to make 3 spaghettis that she could have made in that same amount of time. Over here at the 9, we bring the 3 over on top of the 9, and that's 1/3. When she makes spaghetti, she gives up the 1/3 of the lasagna she could have prepared in that same amount of time. Now, for comparative advantage, we also want to compare over the border or over the line between the producers. The one who has the lowest opportunity cost is the one who should specialize. They have the comparative advantage. So in this case, we see that 2 is smaller than 3. So Johnny has the comparative advantage in the making of lasagna because he only gives up 2 spaghettis, whereas Alice gives up 3. For spaghettis, 1/3 is smaller than 1/2, so Alice has a comparative advantage for making spaghetti because she only gives up 1/3 of a lasagna, whereas Johnny gives up 1/2.